In today's video, I'm going to talk you through how to get really shallow in your downswing and why that's going to be a benefit to you. And I'm going to be experimenting around with the Tour Striker PlayMate to help me do this. Make sure to check out this video. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today in my indoor studio, and today's video, as I mentioned there in the intro, is actually all going to be about the downswing. How can we shallow out that transition movement from backswing to start of the downswing, why you should potentially be looking at doing that in your golf swing, and a little bit of a review on a training aid to help me do that. If this video is of interest, if you enjoy the content, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel to not miss any more instructional content, at least 2 videos a week, and the info for my social media also coming along the bottom of the screen. So shallowing out our downswing, what we're really discussing here is allowing that shaft to feel like it wants to do this and drop a little bit more. So the club head's going to feel like it moves a little bit further behind me. That actually gives us a couple of benefits. One, it stops us getting too steep where the club is more on a collision course from the ground. And it's not that we can't hit good golf shots from a steep angle of attack, but it's reliant on us getting that ball turf strikes to the ball first. If we get that club a little bit shallower, with an 8-iron that I've got here, I'm still going to be hitting down, but if I'm hitting down by more like 2, 3, 4 degrees rather than, let's say, double that, I'm not going to dig as much. If I do catch that ground, just that fraction early, I'm not going to dig as much if I'm a little bit shallower. For the elite golfers, they'll find that when they're a little bit shallower, perhaps they're not going to get quite as many flies. If they're hitting down on the ball a little bit more out of the rough, they're going to get some grass trapped between club and the ball. They're going to get inconsistent distances. The other thing that can happen, again, you might think of this as elite level golf, but if you're striking down on the ball a lot, steeper angle of attack, there can be a real inconsistent on the dynamic loft that we're delivering at impact. That's going to affect the flight, that's going to affect the distance the ball flies. So we really want to try and create some consistency. You know, I want to hit down on the ball by a similar number on my stock shot, so I deliver the club with the same amount of dynamic loft, so I get a similar distance. Shallowing the golf club in our downswing, allowing the club to fall this way, can help us increase our speed as well. So when the club's centre mass falls a little bit further behind mine, I've now got to add in some more rotational speed to actually get that club back to the golf ball, and we can develop some more speed. Effectively, the club is moving on a longer path. It's taking a little bit more time to reach the golf ball. It's giving me more time to accelerate the golf club. The quickest way to get the club down to the golf ball is this way, like chopping with an axe, but we're not going to generate very efficient speed from there. We want the club to have longer to increase speed. As I said, I'm going to use and utilize the PlayMate, so let me just chuck that on quickly. Right, so I've got the PlayMate on here. So it's I guess it's almost like a lifter's belt, you know, like you would do a bit of bodybuilding with, that ties on. It's got the rail which you put towards your trail hip, attach it to the golf club. So I like this. I've been playing around with it. The idea is that you make a golf swing, you try and get the feeling that the band, and you can get different resistance, different lengths of this depending on the club or where you want to attach it on the golf club. You try and keep the band taut here, allow that band to go slack as I'm going to shallow in the downswing, and then taut again on the way through as I reach some extension through the golf ball. So taut, allow that to go slack, and the feeling for me is that I'm going to allow the club to drop behind me. So when you're starting working on shallowing out the downswing, I would actually do some where you freeze at the top. You allow the club to drop before you add in some rotational speed. So let me just go ahead and just try 1 or 2. So I'm going to stop and get the sensation that I allow the club to drop before I turn through. So it's almost allowing a little bit of time in the transition from backswing to downswing, not rushing that transition. It all, I guess, depends on whether you're a puller or whether you're actually allowing that weight of the club to sink here. There are and have been some good players at the top who pull their hands down quite aggressively. We've got to have very quick rotational speeds to really help and get away with that one. Sergio Garcia being great at it, you know, really pulls that handle down, shallows the club out lovely, gets as open as anyone through impact. He's fantastic at it. For many, they're going to try and get that sensation, perhaps there's that almost weight for the club, because a fault that I see day in, day out is players getting to the top and of course dominating with their upper body this way, where they really lunge towards the golf ball, creating out to in swings, fader slices. So, you know, the feeling from the majority of getting shallow is really going to help them get the club on a better path, so they're less out to in, potentially a little bit more in to out. But get that feeling of freeze, shallow, before we add some rotation in there. We hit one more doing that. So it's almost just wait for it. Try and get that feeling of wait for the club, allow it to drop behind me before I add some rotation in there. And I think that's a good drill, a good exercise for anyone to get on with. What I'm going to show you now, I'm going to quickly take this off, is a drill that you could then perhaps take to the range. Having done it, there's nothing wrong with doing this on the driving range, but over-exaggerating those motions, those movements on the range before you then go into flat-out full shots with perhaps out thinking about it. So what I then do is grab a tour stick, just an alignment rod. And what you're going to do is on the range, you're going to set up, my target line is down this way, straight down almost my putt-out mat here. What I'm going to actually do is put a cane on the ground behind me, almost level with my trail toe, and I'm going to set that pointing way out to the right by whatever that is, a good 60 degrees. I'm really going to exaggerate the feeling of getting that club to match up with that cane on the ground. I'm never going to get there, but I'm going to get that sensation of the club lying down, falling behind me in that transition movement here before I add some rotation in. And that's going to allow me to get that club shallowing before we create the rotation. So exaggerate the move. I may do one more stop. Shallow, turn. It's strange, as soon as you take off that plane mate there, you can, it almost feels like you've still got it on, and you really want to get that feeling of almost waiting for the club in the transition. So I'm hitting push draws here. The balls, I'm obviously not hitting them flat out yet, but that ball's standing right to target, drawing back onto target. So if you're steep, you're out to win, you're hitting fades and slices, these are great drills for you, trying to over-exaggerate that movement. I'm going to hit one without stopping, but I'm going to go ahead and rehearse that move. And it's something I definitely need to feel in my golf swing, is that club shallow out. And the only word of warning here is we don't want to allow that club to shallow and our wrist to get very cut, the face to get way open. So when that club is feeling like it drops behind us, we've just got to try and keep our lead wrist pretty flat, or if anything, feel like our knuckles work a little bit behind our wrist. What we don't want is this movement, cupped wrist, open face. If the face ever gets open here, we're going to struggle hitting blocks, pushes for a right-handed golfer out to the right unless we really use a heave-ho flip with the hands. So when we're allowing that club to shallow out, some just awareness of our wrist angle, almost knuckles behind my wrist, would be a great feeling. But over-exaggerate the sensation. As I said, it's definitely something I want in my golf swing, and then get that feeling without stopping. That was a bit on the toey side, but again, just got that feeling of almost being a little bit more deliberate, almost waiting for the club to shallow, to drop in that transition movement. So using the plane mate, great training aid, doing some where you stop, freezer exercise, allow it to drop before you turn, and doing some over-exaggeration exercises is really going to help you shallow out that downswing. And there's some real benefits if you're someone who's out to win, hitting down on the ball too much, or perhaps looking to generate some more speed. It's a great drill, great exercise for you. If this video has helped, as I mentioned there in this start, hit the thumbs up, share it with as many golfers as you can. I'll see you guys next time.